Welcome to the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am thrilled to have you join me on this transformative journey. You see, every day we dive into a powerful conversation about self-discovery, healing, and empowerment. This podcast is brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery, where we believe that loving yourself is the first step to living a fulfilling life. You can expect insightful discussions, practical tips, and inspiring stories. Plus, we'll occasionally welcome special guests who will share their unique perspectives on self-love and personal growth. So get comfy, grab your favorite beverage, and let's embark on this journey together. Because it's time to embrace the beautiful person that you are. So let's elevate our lives one episode at a time. Now let's get started. All right, my beautiful people. Well, welcome to another episode of the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am so happy to have you here for another episode in our Act of Balancing Life series. In our last episode last week, we talked about work-life harmony and some practical strategies for integrating your personal and professional lives, right? Now, if you missed that episode, I encourage you to go back and give it a listen. It's full with useful tips and reflections that can really shift the way that you approach balancing in your life. But today we are diving into a topic that I'm particularly excited about, and that's mindfulness in daily life. It's called finding calm amidst chaos. Now, I don't know about you, but there are times when life just feels so overwhelming. And it can be so hard to find that calm center, right? That's where mindfulness come in. It's a tool that has helped me tremendously. And I'm excited to share on how to help you too. But before we get started, I want to remind you about some wonderful resources that we have available. We have our free mini ebook. It's designed to help you to set intentions and find balance in your daily lives. As well as for those who want to go deeper, we have a 50-plus page ebook entitled Balancing Act: A Guide to Harmonizing Your Life. Both are available now on our website, so be sure to check those out. And of course, don't forget about our 21-day active balancing challenge. It's an ongoing challenge to help to integrate balance into your life, one small step at a time. But I'll talk about that a little later on in the episode. But before we get started with this episode, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about it, all right? We're going to talk about mindfulness. We're going to find those tools, all right? It's your girl, Nyomi Banks, here on the Season of Self-Love podcast, and we'll be right back.
Are you ready to embark on a journey toward harmony and balance? Join us for our exciting new challenge, the 21 Days Living Balance Challenge on the Season of Self-Love podcast, as part of our monthly series, The Act of Balancing Life. This challenge will guide you through daily practices designed to help you harmonize your mind, body, and spirit. Whether you're juggling work, relationships, or self-care, we're here to support you every step of the way. Don't wait, sign up now to take part in this transformative experience starting October 1st. Together, we'll build a community of balance, seekers ready to embrace joy and self-discovery. Visit our website or click the link in our bio to join the challenge today. Let's find our balance together.
What are some common barriers that prevent people from expressing? Hey, it's your girl, Nyomi Banks here from the Season of Self-Love podcast.
Yeah, I would say remorse. So shame and guilt is a very dividing emotional.
And these are one of the many amazing conversations that we have every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Season of Self-Love podcast with myself, Nyomi Banks, as well as our resident therapist, Dr. Will Washington of Washington Wellness Institute. Come by.
The reality of our relationships with people.
Come by.
And a lot of times we're afraid of how people look at us. And so that compassion can't enter.
You can hit us on our website, the Season of Self-Love podcast.com. Let me ask you this, with the truth, is it...
Exciting news, everyone! Nyomi Banks, your favorite transitional life and relationship coach and the inspiring host of the Season of Self-Love podcast, has just released another incredible resource for your personal growth journey, introducing her latest transformational ebook and workbook, Balancing Act: A Guide to Harmonizing Your Life, This 50-page guide is designed to help you navigate the complexities of life, bringing balance and harmony into your everyday experience. Perfectly paired with our amazing new series for this month, The Act of Balancing Life. This workbook is packed with practical exercises, insightful prompts, and valuable tools to empower you on your path to self-discovery and fulfillment. Don't miss out on this opportunity to invest in yourself and enhance your journey toward a balanced life. Balancing Act is available now. Grab your copy today and step into a world of harmony and self-love.
All right, well, welcome back to the Season of Self-Love Podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and today we are continuing our series with the act of balancing life. And today is all about mindfulness and daily, finding a calm amidst the chaos, right? All right, so let's take a moment now to just center ourselves with a brief guided meditation. So wherever you are at, and if you feel safe to do so, I want to invite you to sit comfortably with us. Or if you're standing, just soften your gaze or close your eyes, all right? Right now, I want you to start with taking a deep breath in through your nose and exhale slowly through your mouth. All right, now let's do that again. Inhale in deeply, feeling your chest rising. Now I want you to exhale, releasing any tension that might be holding on to. Now I want you to picture yourself in a place where you feel completely at peace. It might be a serene beach or a quiet forest or even your favorite room in your home. But wherever you are, I want you to imagine the sounds, the scents, and the feeling of the calm that washes over you. Now, as you continue to breathe, I want you to let this peace energy fill your mind and your body. I want you to breathe in calm and breathe out chaos. Now, when you are ready, I want you to gently bring your awareness back to this present moment. Take one more deep breath in. Now out. Now open your eyes if they are closed and lift your gaze, all right? All right, well, thank you for sharing this moment with me. And if you're new here to the Season of Self-Love Podcast, you know this is something that we do every day, Monday through Friday, just before we get into our topic at hand, all right? All right, so let's talk about understanding mindfulness, all right? Now that we are grounded, let's talk about mindfulness. And mindfulness is all about being fully present in the moment, and that's without judgment. It's the practice of bringing your attention to what's happening right now, rather than being caught up in worries about the future or regrets about the past. We get caught up in that a lot. You see, there's an often misconception that mindfulness is just about meditation, but it's so much more than that. It's about living your life with full awareness, whether you're working or eating or walking or simply sitting with your thoughts. Mindfulness can be practiced in any situation. Now, I'll be honest, when I started practicing mindfulness, I thought that it would be impossible to fit into my busy life. But once I began to integrate it, I noticed a huge difference in how I handle stress and how much more present I felt. For me, it wasn't just about calming my mind. It was about connecting with myself on a much deeper level. So whether I'm taking a few moments to breathe deeply in the middle of a hectic day or simply paying attention to how you feel, mindfulness can transform you in the way to experience life. Does that make sense? Now let's talk about what's the incredible benefits of practicing mindfulness. On a psychological level, mindfulness has been shown to reduce stress, to improve focus, and enhance emotional regulation, right? You see, physically, it can lower blood pressure, improve sleep, and even boost your immune system. That's good, isn't it? So I've included a whole chapter on mindfulness in my ebook. And in chapter 8, we talk about embracing mindfulness. We dive into the research behind these benefits. And there's a section with a practical exercise that can help you to get started if mindfulness is new to you. Now, for me, one of the most significant benefits of mindfulness is how it helps me to manage overwhelming emotions. I remember a particular busy week when everything seemed to go wrong. Instead of me spiraling into stress, I took a moment to just sit, breathe, and bring myself back to present. And in that small act made all the difference. It didn't solve the problems, but it gave me clarity and calm that I needed to handle them. I really want to share something with you. Many years ago, and I'm going to say this, when I retired from the industry and I began to transition into other new things, and I remember I was sewing, designing lingerie for my lingerie launch, for Intimate Seduction. And I remember my anxiety had came back. I hadn't had anxiety in a long time. The last time that I truly had anxiety before this series of things was back when I was pregnant with my second child. And throughout that whole entire pregnancy, I was going through anxiety. And the anxiety attacks that I had, it had me to where it was very disabling to me. Like sometimes I would have to pull over on the side of the road and everything would get dark, but I would hear everything around me. And my heart would race, very, like I was having a heart attack. But these were all anxieties because I didn't know nothing about mindfulness. I heard about meditation, but I never knew about mindfulness. And like I said, this was over 20 years ago. So let's fast forward another 10, 11 years. I am now retired from the industry. I've now been on bed rest for 9 months with my last baby. And now I'm going into a new career. Now, I've sewn before, I've designed things before before I got into the adult industry. But somehow in my mind, I felt like I was not worthy of it. I don't know what it was. But I remember I had just finished my very first piece. And I was so excited about that very first piece that I did. I had it on a mannequin and everything. And I remember before I knew it, I was on the floor. I was on the floor, and I remember my middle baby coming like, "Mama, you all right? Mama, you all right?" I cannot see her. But I can hear her. And it was like I couldn't, catch my breath. And I'm like, what is this? What is happening? So when I went to the doctor, told me exactly what it was. I knew what it was. It was an anxiety. But I then did not know how to do anything with it. At that time, when I went to the doctor, not once did they tell me anything about going to, they want to give me some medicine, anxiety medicine, to help calm me down with the medication. And I said, no, I have to figure this out myself. I have to figure this out for myself. I said, because that's the last thing that I want to do is I want to be on medication. I don't want to be on medication, excuse me. And I know you asked, Nyomi, why you don't want to be on medication? Because honestly, I've seen so many of my loved ones, particularly my father and other family members that have taken a medication for one thing, and it ended up disrupting something else in their bodies. And I knew that that's not what I wanted. I knew overall that I was healthy, but I knew that I was under a lot of stress. I knew that there was something that I need to do, that I knew it was some healing that I needed to be done with myself. I had to go through that process. I had to go through some counseling. But I knew drugs wasn't it. I knew there was a way that I can control this, or at least help to manage it. And so I'm going to be honest. Let's fast forward 6 years later. And that's when I started to do mindfulness. Even though I was in my prayer room praying, I still did not understand what mindfulness was. I remember even trying to go through the meditation, doing the meditation. I couldn't calm my mind. I couldn't do anything like that. I was trying to make the perfect meditation. But then as I continued to do research, I continued to go to YouTube University, and also the certification program that I was a part of, that was in there as well. And so it kind of helped to kind of mold me, to help me with mindfulness. And so I truly started doing my research and to understand it more. And honestly, when I definitely started tapping more into myself spiritually, that's when it truly helped me. I remember in the beginning of this, in the first season, the beginning of this show, the season of self-love. And I remember talking about this with you all. And I remember saying that even in the middle when I'm working, I have to stop. If it feels that it's getting overwhelmed, I have to stop, get up, and maybe go to my meditation room and find something to focus on to bring me to the now. Because my mind, I have a mind that my mind is always working. It's always working on the next project, on the next book, on the next podcast. Like literally, I have 5 different podcasts in my head right now that I want to launch. Truly. And it's to help people, but I don't want to use no drugs to try to, ease my mind. So I want to try to self-discipline myself to help manage it. And so that's where mindfulness come in. And this is where I use daily techniques, and I'm going to share with you. So these are some practical techniques that you can start using today that I use to bring mindfulness into your daily life. Mindful breathing. This is one of the simplest, most effective ways to practice mindfulness. So when you feel stressed or overwhelmed, pause and take a few slow, deep breaths in. Focus on sensation of your breath entering and leaving your body. You see, this small act of breathing, it can help reset your mind in your body. So, every episode of the season of self-love, we do what? We pause for at least 60 seconds. For at least 60 seconds to help center ourselves. And we start off with a deep breath in through your nose and exhale out your mouth. But the thing is, I do it before I record a show. If I have a guest, I do it before I have a guest come on. And one thing is that I love that every guest that we have on now, they love that moment. That's one of their favorite moments, like, wow, you truly helped center. We've never experienced that doing a podcast before. And that's because when they come into this space, when they come into our space, when they come into the season of self-love palace, we want to make sure that they feel comfortable with sharing their stories. Because not only are they getting something out of it, but we are too. We're getting confirmation. We're getting an answer. We're getting a message. They're letting us know that we're not the only ones, that there's someone else that's out there going through the same thing that we're going through, but also that they got through it. So guess what? That gives us hope, motivation, and also it let us know that it is possible to get through it. So if anybody ever asks, like yourself, like, why do Nyomi keep doing these? That's why. Because even if I can give you that minute a day, minute and a half, or however long that is that day, I've given you something for you to think about, that you can use that little 60 seconds or a minute and 30 seconds and use it as your mindful meditation in that moment. Does that make sense? All right, the next one is a body scan meditation. And this is a great way to release the physical tension that becomes more aware of your body. Starting from your head and moving down to your toes, pay attention to how each part of your body feels. Like, are you holding on to tension in your shoulders or your neck? Is there a tightness in your chest? See, by becoming aware of your body, you can start to relax those areas and feel more grounded. I was talking to one of my good girlfriends last week about this because I was telling her about the migraines that I'm having. My migraines are coming back. And I understand exactly where the migraines are coming from. And so she was telling me, have you been doing your body scan? And I said, honestly, yes and no. Yes and no. And so she was telling me about this particular program that they have out there. They have someone come in and do a whole total body scan over you, on you. But one thing that I used to do, and I need to really start back doing it, is I used to do with my like clearing my chakras. It was one of the ways that I used to do a body scan with the chakras from, your crown all the way down to your root. But with the body chakras, kind of go a little further and you go to the tippy toes, all right? And mindful eating is another one. We talked about that once before. And how often do we eat? And distracted by watching TV. I am very guilty of that. I am so very guilty of that. So what I do is I try to at least take one of my meals a day to where I can go outside by the pool, where I'm listening to the waterfalls as I'm eating. I look around in my surroundings. So I try to commit at least one meal a day to eat mindful. One meal a day to eat mindful. You see, with mindful eating, what it does is it's about slowing down and truly savoring each bite. You pay attention to the texture, to the flavors, and how that food makes you feel. Not only would you enjoy your meals more, but it can also help you to build a healthier relationship with food. Walking meditation. This is probably one of my all-time favorites. It is. So the thing is, the next time that you go for a walk, try turning it into a mindful experience. Focus on the sensation of your feet touching the ground, the rhythm of the steps, and the feeling of the air around you. You can even take in the sights and the sounds around you without judgment. It's a beautiful way to combine movement and mindfulness. The funny thing is that I used to always think that you could only meditate sitting with your legs, Indian style is what we used to call it, Indian style, sitting there with your hands up, that's the only way. No. I remember the first time, and it was probably about 2 years ago, and I was walking in a park, and I remember how I kind of like zoned out. And what helped me is because I used to be deathly afraid of birds. And it was like every morning that I went to this park and I tried to walk, there was these geese or duck or whatever you want to call it, they all gathered through my walkway. And so as I'm trying to get through the walkway, I remember being so anxious walking through this walkway with all of these geese or ducks or whatever they were. I just felt like, oh, and I remember one day I prayed through it. I said, no, we're going to get through this. We have to get beyond whatever this fear is with birds. And so I remember the next day. My focus was on the trees. My focus was on the sound, the air, the breathe, the movement, the little chirps. Like I like went zoned out. Even though I was watching myself moving forward, by watching, going forward, I zoned out. And I remember walking through it and turned around and looked back. And I was like, wow, I did not at one time feel anxious walking through there. I forgot the birds, them things were there because my mind was so focused, just listening to my footsteps, listening to the wind blowing the air, the little chirps of crickets that was around me. And I'm not, no lie, I swore that I felt the beam from the sun, or felt the hearing of the beam of the sun. Like it was like everything felt so crystal clear. And I remember going home and reading up, like, can I walk? I remember Googling, can you walk and meditate at the same time? Is that possible? I thought I had created something new. And it was like, no, yes, you can. The one thing that we have to remember that everything is not just one way. There's a different variety of ways to do things. Sometimes I meditate in my car. No, not while I'm driving, but I do. And then when I really think about it, I believe I was doing that all of my life and not understanding mindfulness in that moment. I didn't understand what it was. I remember having those most intimate moments with myself used to be in my car. When I lived back in Chicago, when I lived back in Indiana, and I worked in Bolingbrook, and I worked downtown. I remember those drives. Even now, I get in my car and I drive. And most of the time, those are the most mindful moments for me because I'm looking at the mountains. And I'm loving where I'm at right now. And I'm enjoying where I'm at right now. But also what I do too is I have reflection moments, but they be good reflection. Because I understand where I've been, but I love where I am now. And I work very hard on not to think about my future, even though I was taught to have a 5-year plan. Have your 5-year plan, have your 10-year plan, have your short-term goals. Well, plan. That's something we teach here too. But what I wasn't taught is don't get so stuck and overwhelmed that you do not appreciate or live right now. See, that's where the stress comes from when we worry about what we already done and worry about what we're going to do in the future. But we don't worry about what we're doing now. And that's what mindfulness is focusing on what you're doing now, appreciating what you're doing now. Like, what am I doing today? After I finish listening to the Season of Self-Love podcast with Nyomi Banks, what am I going to do after this? What am I doing now? What am I doing now? And appreciate that. Appreciate that moment. All right. So now, all right, I know that many of us might be thinking, this sounds all great, right? But I just don't have the time. But trust me, I get it. I get it more than anybody. I can't say more than anybody, but I get it. Life is very busy, and it can be very, very hard to find time to practice mindfulness. But I just told you, in your car. But look, the beauty is that it doesn't require a lot of time. You can incorporate it into your moments you already have, like during your commute. I just said that. While you're cooking, or even while you're brushing your teeth. Yes. Another common challenge is distraction. We're constantly bombarded with information, and it's easy to lose focus, right? But when you notice your mind wandering, just gently bring it back to the present moment. And this is one of the most hardest things. Don't judge yourself for getting distracted. Just acknowledge it and refocus. I'm going to say this one more time. Don't judge yourself for getting distracted. Just acknowledge it and refocus. And lastly, I want you to remember that mindfulness is a practice. You won't be perfect at it, and that is okay. I want you to be kind to yourself and allow this process to unfold on its own pace. All right? All right, so I got a challenge for y'all today. Well, actually, for this week. I want you to choose just one mindfulness practice from today's episode and try to incorporate it into your daily life. Whether it's mindful breathing, mindful eating, or short walking meditation, and see how it feels to bring more presence in your day. All right? And either email me, send me a DM, or just put it in up under one of the comments. No, yeah. But truly, please, I challenge you to do that this week. Do those three things. One of those three things. Again, mindful breathing, mindful eating, or a short walking meditation. All right? And don't forget about our 21-day active balancing challenge. I know that we are in it, but join it. You could start from day one and get into it. And if you are participating today, is focused on incorporating mindfulness into your life. Now, I'd love to hear about your experience, whether you are trying something new or revisiting a mindfulness practice. You can share your thoughts on our social media. Again, you can send me an email, all right? So as we wrap today's episode, I want to remind you that mindfulness isn't about perfection. It's about being present, whether you're in the middle of chaos or calm mindfulness. It gives you the tools to find peace in the moment. And don't forget about checking out our free mini ebook, as well as our 50-plus page ebook titled Balancing Act, a Guide to Harmonizing Your Life. Both are filled with resources that can help support you in your journey towards balance and mindfulness. And again, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you're feeling inspired to bring more mindfulness into your life. And I want you to remember that this is a journey. We are all learning and growing together. And I'll see you on the next episode where we will dive into another aspect of balancing life. So then, till then, I want you to take care of yourselves and practice life extra self-love this week. Again, thank you for tuning in to today's episode of The Season of Self-Love. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Your support helps us so much, and it helps us to reach more people on their self-love journey. So I can't wait to see you in our next episode where we continue our Active Balancing Life series. Take care and have a good one. I'll see y'all next time. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery and empowerment here at the Season of Self-Love podcast. Remember, embracing self-love is a continuous journey, and we're so glad to have you with us. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. And don't forget to join our community on Facebook at Season of Self-Love. Connect with like-minded individuals who are also on their self-love journey. Now, if you have any questions or topics that you'd like for us to explore, we love to hear from you. Email us at seasonofselflove@gmail.com and let your voice be heard. So until next time, take a moment for yourself today and remember, you are worthy of love, joy, and all the beautiful things that life has to offer. Have a good one.